experiencing bliss through yoga. I wish everyone on this earth realizes this. It is possible to experience bliss through yoga. It is accessible to everyone without any exception. If only one practices yoga. Taittiriya Upanishad says, from joy I have come, for joy I live. In that sacred joy, one day I shall melt again. In a world of duality, when we see so much pain and suffering all around us, such a statement may sound unrealistic. Isn't it so? When we see so much pain, suffering around us and in me too. Is it possible that I have come from joy and I can live in joy perpetually? We may not fully grasp the import of the statement, but the words of an Upanishad cannot go wrong. If only we practice the principles well mapped out by our ancient saints and seers and sages, one day we will vouch for the veracity of the statement. Yes, I have come from joy, I can live in perpetual joy, and one day I will melt in that sacred joy. It must be possible. Bhagavan Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Swalpam arthasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Referring to yoga, meditation, Bhagavan Krishna gives his assurance. Even a little practice of this dharma, religious rite, yoga, meditation, will save you from dire fears inherent in the cycle of life and death. Fear is so much, and we can conquer that. It seems, as long as we have life, what is guaranteed is anxiety. Whether it's a boy of 10-year-old school student, or a youth of 20, or an employee, a businessman of 30, housewife of 40, a retired man of 70, what next? Always, what next? Now, for everyone, that isn't it that question, anxiety, what next? Bhagavan Krishna did not assure us that by practicing yoga, we will not have any challenges and pain and suffering. He only said that we will not have that fear coming out of these things. Now we'll face life with courage. As a result, by practicing yoga, one can be calmly active and actively calm. A prince of peace sitting on the throne of poise and directing the kingdom of activities. This is a statement given by Paramahansa Yogananda. Meaning, when there are problems around us, challenges around us, we don't have to run away. Being where we are, still we can be calmly active and actively calm. A prince of peace, sitting on the throne of poise and directing the kingdom of activities. I mean, that's what we are all looking for. And this is possible when we experience that joy, bliss inside through the practice of yoga. It's possible. See, man is of threefold nature. I have a body, I have a mind, and I also have soul. Having been given this body, I have a responsibility to take care of this body by right diet, right exercise, and the like. If I give due attention to my body and take care of it, in turn, body gives me health, mobility. And I also have mind. I have to cultivate my mind too. How? By positive thinking, intellectual pursuits. The result is I get intelligence and ability to get along with others. Many people stop here. They cultivate their body, they take care of their mind, but they don't care for soul. I have a soul too. I have a responsibility to nurture my soul. What is the nourishment for my soul? Meditation, deep contemplation. That is the nourishment for my soul. When I nourish my soul with proper meditation, in turn, soul gives me unconditional joy, perfect love, intuition, creativity. Now, intuition doesn't come from my mind. It doesn't come from my body. It can only come from my soul. So I have to nurture my soul so that I can get that intuition to live by in this world. Similarly, unconditional joy, the joy that doesn't depend on anything, that can only come from my soul, not from my mind. I can't wish away problems, but my soul can give me the joy which will neutralize the pain and suffering. So that is where many people fall short. They take care of their minds and their bodies, neglecting soul. Nourishment for the soul is meditation. Now, why? How this meditation helps us? Here, I would like to digress a little bit and address one question. What is God? What is God? I mean, God is a word we have been hearing from childhood. But did we ever stop and contemplate what it is? How is it related to me? There are many, many definitions of God. Books have been written, lectures spoken. All these concepts are right in their own right. But for me personally, the definition of God, which is closest to my heart, is this. God is Satchidanand. God is Satchidanand. But what does it mean, Satchidanand? Satchidanand is a word we have been hearing from childhood. Even name our children, Satchidanand. But what does it mean? Let me explain. In the context of God, God's nature. See, now I have no concept of God. I have no idea whether God is he or she or it or whatever. If there is some entity like God, can that God be sorrowful? Even if I don't know much about it, there is no harm. We are not making any mistake by assuming that God is joy. God is bliss. God is joy. God is Anand. But to say that God is Anand is a crass understatement. God is not simple Anand, which we are familiar. For instance, when I take a mango, it gives me joy. When I take a second mango, it gives me further joy. A third mango may not give me that joy. Fourth, I don't want to take. Because the theory of diminishing returns, theory of marginal utility. And this is applicable not only to mango and food items. This is applicable to every item in this world, every experience in this world. The interest fades away. It doesn't give the same joy after some time. Any experience, any item, except one thing, God and God contact. God contact is ever new. God is ever new. God is Nitya Naveen Anand, not simple Anand, Nitya Naveen Anand. That's bliss. Ever new joy. That is why we see people meditating day after day after day after day, because they contact God and feel that joy. Like day after day we sleep. Because every time we sleep, we have some relaxation. We feel that happiness. Similarly, much more deep is joy that comes in contact with God through yoga meditation. That God is ever new joy. Nitya Naveen Anand. God may be Nitya Naveen Anand. If he's not aware of his joy, what good it is? But God is aware. He is conscious of his ever new joy. God is ever conscious, ever new joy. Consciousness means what? Chit. God is Chidanand. Ever conscious, ever new joy. God may be Chidanand, ever conscious, ever new joy. But what good it is if it exists for a little while and then absent. No, as a human being, I can only relate to events between my birth and my death. This is the only thing I can relate to generally. But God is, God was, and God will be. God is ever existing. What is that ever existing? Truth. Sat. God is ever existing, ever conscious, ever new, bliss. Sat, Chit, Anand. God is Satchidanand, meaning is ever conscious of his ever existing nature of ever new joy. That is God. But when I define God or describe God, I won't stop here. I would further go and say that God is Satchidanand and Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi is not my statement, nor my Guru's statement. It's fundamental truth, proclaimed by all religions, declared by all saints. Because I am a part of divinity. We are all different expressions of the same divinity. The spark is in me. I am divine. Aham Brahmasmi. So God is Satchidanand and Aham Brahmasmi, meaning I am potentially that Satchidanand. I am ever existing, ever conscious, ever new joy. That's what I am. Now, can you relate to Taittiriya Upanishad? From joy I have come, for joy I live, and in that sacred joy one day I shall meet again. Because I am that. I am a part of God who is ever existing, ever conscious, ever new joy. Having said that, I would like to spend a couple of minutes explaining about this joy. Because what is this joy? God's joy. Because we are very familiar with joy. I know when I take some nice food, I'm joyful. When I meet a person, I'm joyful. But the contact with God, that produces joy, which is so different. So I want to make sure that we understand. We don't think that this as any other joy. To explain this, describe God's joy, which we get through contact with God in yoga meditation. Call it joy or bliss. To describe this joy, this bliss, I would say that it has got three shades. It is physiological, psychological, and spiritual. It has a three shades, the joy of God. Physiological in the sense, so when I take a sweet, my taste buds get excited and it gives me that pleasure, happiness. When I take a sweet, no one needs to tell me, you have taken a sweet, be happy. No one needs to tell me. The very act of taking sweet or a mango makes my taste buds excited and I feel joy. Similarly, in yoga meditation, after practicing scientific technique of pranayama meditation, it produces some joy which is physiological. In the sense, even body feels light. It's not that I have to imagine that I'm happy. I am happy. Physiologically also, I experience that. Body feels light, eyes. I mean, that is there, God contact, bliss. Second, it's psychological too. For example, for me to be happy, I don't have to necessarily take a mango or a sweet. I'm just sitting here. I hear some good news. Something happened to my family or to my country or something, some good news. Immediately I feel joyful. It's just the feeling. Similarly, when you meditate, practice yoga meditation, and psychologically you feel uplifted. Psychological, that joy has psychological aspect too, not only physiological. And then it has spiritual shade too. For this, I would like to share with you a quotation of Paramahansa Yoganandaji. Paramahansa Yoganandaji, most of you must be aware of. He's my guru, I follow his Kriya Yoga path. And he's the author of this book, autobiography, which is available in more than 50 languages, including 14 Indian languages. Sanskrit, Urdu, Telugu, Tamil, Hindi, name anything, 14 Indian languages. He said, when bliss comes over you, you recognize it as a conscious, intelligent, universal being and not as an abstract mental concept. Mark his words, what he said. Paramsaji said that when bliss comes over you, that when that joy comes over you in meditation, you recognize that joy as a conscious, intelligent, universal being to whom you may appeal. What does it mean? That means it's not as an abstract mental concept. That bliss comes in meditation with a sense of higher presence. It's not just happy. When I take a mango, I'm joyful. I meet a nice person, I'm happy. That happiness is so different. This happiness in yoga meditation comes with a sense of higher presence. Yes, there's a higher presence. I'm in touch with that. It doesn't mean that we are going to see some divine personality with 4 heads and 8 hands or something like that. If someone sees, that's okay. I have no issue with that. But without seeing anyone, without hearing anyone, that conviction is there. Yes, this bliss is God. And Paramahansa Yogananda said that the first proof of the existence of God lies in the peace you feel within in meditation. When you practice yoga meditation, there is so much peace. It's not just simple peace. You recognize that, attribute it to some higher presence. It's not simple thing, peace we get out of sleep. This is much more solid. I mean, that's what I like that definition so much. When bliss comes over you, you recognize that bliss as a conscious, intelligent, universal being to whom you may appeal. Without seeing anyone, without hearing anything, you can make a contact. You feel a contact. That is God. That is the power of yoga meditation. That is how we experience bliss through yoga meditation. Does that relate to the topic of today's webinar? Because that's what I am. I am bliss inside Satchidanand, being a part of divinity in this creation. And that inside I can go through yoga, meditation, Kriya Yoga. There are many other procedures, of course. Kriya Yoga is something I'm familiar with. That is one. Now, this is an experience. I always say, what is the characteristic of a meditator? Experience. Not theory, not knowledge, not vocabulary. It's experience. Experience inside, yes, that bliss. And we have so many people to watch for this. Now, let me share with you a short story before I close. One person approached a saint and asked, "Holy Sir, please tell me what is God in one sentence. I don't have time for your lectures. I'm a very busy man, very active person. Please tell me what is God in one sentence." That saint said, "Why one sentence? One word will do." One word? Yes. Silence. What God is silence? Yes, silence. What is silence? Meditation. How do you meditate? In silence. How do you get that silence? By meditation. Now here these 3 words, God, silence and meditation, were used as if they refer to the same thing, which is true in a higher sense, because the silence which the saint is speaking is not a mere silence of vocal cords. Vocal cords have to be silent. Thoughts have to be silent. Emotions have to be silent. Anxieties have to be silent. All these. And eyes have to be silent. Ears have to be silent. Skin has to be silent. All senses have to be silent. For me, a better word is personally stillness. It's much deeper than mere silence. When we get confused with other terms of silence. Stillness. When we are still inside, nischal. When we are still inside, we feel the existence of God. How do you get to that stillness? Yoga meditation. If God is within us, why don't you feel? The classical example given in spiritual literature is, if you want to see the reflection of moon and lake, the lake has to be still. If it is ruffled, you can't see the reflection of moon. Although God's reflection is in me, God's existence is me. I am made in the image of God. I can't see and perceive because the lake of my mind, the lake of my consciousness are always ruffled. Even in sleep, mind is ruffled. Meditation, yoga meditation is a process to remove that ruffles. Chitta Vritti Nirodha. It quietens the mind. When there is stillness, you experience. It is not in action, but in awareness, we perceive divinity within. No? It is not in doing, but in being, we experience that divinity, that bliss inside. For that, we have to practice yoga meditation. It's possible. As you may be aware, our organization, Yoga Satsanga Society, founded by Paramahansa Yoganandaji, we teach mainly meditation techniques. We have 3 meditation techniques: Hangsa, which improves concentration, plus gives that first experience of bliss inside. Just you taste it. And then Om technique, where we contact God in one of his manifestations, that is sound vibration. Then Kriya Yoga, where we take special breathing, taking excess oxygen, decarbonizing system, subduing the senses, and experiencing God within. With this short talk, I would like to close here. I would like to thank you all for your patient hearing and the opportunity that given to me. That's why I like this so much topic. Experience bliss through yoga meditation. It is 100% possible. Practically. You practice, you will realize that. We are working on yoga principle, means it's scientific. And it's like 3 plus 4 equals to 7 for Indians, Americans, Australians, Hindus, Muslims, men, women. Similarly, yoga is scientific. It works for everyone. When it worked for Patanjali centuries back, when it worked for Arjuna 3000 years back, it should work for me today, for you. So bliss through practice yoga meditation. God bless you. Bless you all.